guys, welcome back to our channel. You're watching Daddy Daughter Talk, the podcast, and I am Kelsey, and you are...
I'm Dad, Chris.
So what do you...
What up?
What we talking about today?
We are talking about being promoted. Are you doing a good enough job within your current position to warrant a promotion?
Yeah. What did you tell me yesterday? I got the quote, if you don't remember.
Give me the quote.
You said, you gotta be a good, not a good, see, I'm quoting wrong now. You said, you gotta be a girlfriend first. If you're not a good girlfriend, how you gonna make it to be a wife? And vice versa. Works in the boyfriend standards too.
Exactly. And who were you quoting?
See, Dink.
That's right. The daddy's cool enough to, we don't have to quote people because he got enough stuff to say himself. But that's neither here nor there. But yes, let's go ahead and go into it. The concept of being good enough at your current job in order to be promoted comes from corporate America. But it works. It applies to relationships as well. And these are like almost all relationships outside of family. You meet somebody. Let's say I'm in college my freshman year, because this is how it happened. I'm in college my freshman year, and within a couple of days of being on campus, I go to the rec center. And play basketball. And you pick some cats up, hey, you want to run, and y'all play basketball. And y'all seem to just get along well enough on the basketball court, and after basketball is through, you all walk back to the dorms together, and this particular person you have a conversation with, and it seems like a cool enough conversation. Y'all exchange names and everything, and y'all get back to the dorms, and hey, what dorm are you in? Hey, I'm in this tower, and yada, yada, yada. All right, then cool. Well, I'll catch you tomorrow. The next day, y'all might see each other in the cafeteria and sit together. So this person was cool enough the first night to sit with at the cafeteria the next day. And you sit together at breakfast, you sit together at lunch. Every time you go to the cafeteria, you find this person, you sit with them, and now y'all start hanging out and become cool. But y'all hang around each other long enough being cool to graduate to being partners. And you fulfill that position good enough, long enough to when y'all become friends. And then you graduate from friends to becoming best friends. And now me and that dude been friends and best friends, and now we're brothers since 1996. So it's, we're going on 25 years of thugging and bugging when we just met each other in college 24 plus years ago. But it works the same for regular relationships. He and I performed good enough as being regular people to become cool, and perform good enough being cool to become partners, and good enough as partners to become friends, to become best friends, to become brothers. It works the same way in a relationship. A person has to be, for me, the female has to be attractive enough for me to even approach her. And then after approaching, have to be able to hold a good enough conversation and have a good enough vibe for me to want to be interested to get to know her better. And it graduates to where, okay, cool, I like you, we kicking it, we're dating, to you becoming my girlfriend. The whole goal is to be a wife and a mother and a couple, married, and husband, wife, and children, mother and father. But how do you get from dating to girlfriend and boyfriend, and from girlfriend and boyfriend to husband and wife? The answer to the question is perform that job well enough. You doing a whole nother episode by yourself?
No, I'm not. I got excited because I remembered something that you told me And I remember I was in my feelings this one time, and it was the 10 toes down challenge. So I had made a rap. I'm not gonna do the rap, but a line that I put in there. I'm not gonna say the line. It's kind of corny, but the premise.
Say the line.
No, embarrassed, flustered. But basically, the premise was you always told me never play a role that wasn't given to me.
Right.
And I'll share it with you once we get off of here. Corny. Get off of that. Anyways, sorry. And if obviously when you go into a corporate job, since we're using that as the segue to make our point, when you go into a corporate job, you know, sometimes you have this goal of where you want to be in that job, but you might not qualify just yet, or that position just might not be open, so you're willing to get your foot in the door. Well, when you get your foot in the door, and let's take my experience for because I used to work for a place, I don't call the name, but I wanted to work in the pharmacy. But I didn't have the credentials that I needed just yet, but they were easy to attain, so I started working on it immediately. But they also did not have a position for me just yet, so I applied for a cashier's position. And at the interview, after looking at my resume, which I hadn't even discussed with this particular employer just yet, that I wanted to be in the pharmacy, but I'm like, I don't even got the paperwork, so let me just get into the door and then work on it. But he took a look at my resume, and he seen that I was a health major, and he was like, you don't really want to be no cashier, do you? I was like, what about the pharmacy? And I was like, yeah, actually, that's where I'm trying to go. He was like, well, you need this, and this, which I already knew I needed, which is why I didn't apply for that position. Plus, it wasn't available at that moment. But he was like, I got another role for you. It's called a designated hitter. It's where I work as a cashier, but when they need people in the pharmacy, they like to check out people, because I could cashier back there. Then they call me back, and I get to learn while I get this paperwork and stuff together. And I had to draw that picture out because there's 3 different positions here, and I'm working towards one. But as the designated hitter, at no point in time was I a pharmacy technician. I still had to stay in my lane. First of all, I didn't have the credentials to touch no drugs, but also they didn't pay me to do that. That's extra work. Stay right here and make sure you meet these qualifications and do a good enough job at this. And once that paperwork come in, now you are a pharmacy technician. And as soon as my paperwork came in, it happened overnight. Hey, you want to be a pharmacy technician still, right? Yeah, cool. You got 10 hours tomorrow. I'm already gonna code you. You're a pharmacy technician tomorrow. But I was doing well enough at this position, a designated hitter. I was taking in everything that I needed to know to prepare me for that pharmacy technician position. But I wasn't jumping the gun. I wasn't overdoing things, touching stuff that I didn't have no business touching because I didn't have the credentials for. I wasn't about to get kicked out of my position for doing too much, you know? I was doing what was needed at this point in my career at this place of business. Same goes for your friendships or your girlfriend or your wife. What role is yours? And are you playing it well, or are you overstepping, trying to hurry up and speed to be promoted, and ain't nobody asked you yet? Your turn.
That's key, but there's also another side to it where I have heard a million times, I'm not going to play the role of a girlfriend, and I'm not going to give you girlfriend quality, and I'm not girlfriend. Okay, that could shoot you in the tuchus, because what am I looking forward to? If you're literally not giving me what I want to get you to that next level, because you always have to work towards that goal. Now, I'm not saying be a wife and you're just somebody that he's dating, but are you really giving too much by fixing his plate? Are you really giving too much by straightening this place up if something's out of order when you're there? Are you really doing too much? I mean, like, we need to quantify some of these things of what you consider an investment. But that's what you have to do to get success, is invest. You have to sometimes give more in the position than of the requirements of the position. You know, you have to be on time. You don't have to do good work to get promoted. You have to do extraordinary work to get promoted, because you got to do good work to remain employed. So if you just want to be an employee, keep on doing what you've been doing. I'll let you keep coming back, because employees are comfortable. Just employees, they're comfortable. And just the chick you're dating, you're comfortable with her. And this is from the male perspective. This is comfortable. It's not uncomfortable to have her be around. What are you responding to my background? Yeah, two little shouties. But yes, it's comfortable to have that around. It's just real comfortable. They're around because they're comfortable. What are you really adding to the equation to motivate that guy to want you to be more than his gal?
I think you just sparked something that, I mean, I always knew the concept, but I really didn't even think about it in this term. That, okay, you have your job description, but some factors in your job description overlap as you get promoted. So like, when I'm speaking on doing like designated hitter job description things and not overstepping, I'm meaning like I don't have the qualifications to count these drugs, you know. That legally I cannot do that. And vice versa, and from a friendship to a girlfriend, like certain things I might not want to, not necessarily I don't want to do, but also like, let's talk about what stage we are and what the expectations are of this stage in our relationship or situationship, whether that be, are we friends, are we girlfriend and boyfriend, let's talk about that. But then also on the back end, you do have to realize that certain descriptive titles and certain parts of that description carry over. Okay, you did this at the friendship stage and now you're in the girlfriend stage. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get too lax.
You have to. When it comes down to a relationship, from knowing one another to dating one another to a committed boyfriend and girlfriend to,
where'd you go?
Somebody just tried to call me. To, you know, as you elevate, you're taking every single pre-qualified, pre-description on with you. Right. That job, now, once you go from, let's say you work in a call center, you go from being a rep to being a manager. Well, you ain't on the phone. But as a manager, you still have to retain those on-phone skills, because at some point in time, you may have to get on the phone as a one-off, to escalate, you know, to handle an escalation or something along those lines. But as somebody that I'm dating, to go on to a girlfriend, you have to bring every one of those descriptions with you. All I'm going to do is add on to the plate. And you want to be a wife, I'm going to add on to the plate. But as the girlfriend, I have to see that you can handle the addition of being a wife before I ask you to be my wife. You can't wait until you become a wife to start acting wifely. You can't do it. And it's the same in reverse. Are you going to wait until you marry me to find out if I'm a provider? Right. So it's the same in reverse, but people have this messed up concept that you'll find out what I am when I get there. No, that's what's stopping you from getting there. If you've been in 16 different relationships, and they always ended the same way with different people. The common denominator was you. These guys out here playing, they playing. It's not the thing playing. Is it possible that you didn't show them enough to move forward? Is that possible? And vice versa, man. I'm out here trying to find me a woman, man, but these women ain't taking me serious enough. Are you looking like a joker? Are you looking like a plaything? You can't draw out of them what you need to draw out of them to get them to be where you want them to be. And you may not have enough to motivate him to get him to be where you're not motivating him enough to graduate you to where you want to be. I got two children because I asked for those two children. So I asked their mothers to be mothers. So they couldn't assume the position of mothers without, in this situation, me asking them to be mothers. And since I asked them to be a mother, I graciously handled my job as a dad because I asked for that position. So you got a bunch of people out here assuming the position of girlfriend, and the guy didn't ask you to be his girlfriend, but you put expectations on him as a boyfriend. And that's how you end up in these situationships. And then when you, on a normal basis, when you went to go look to be a pharmacy tech, did you look up and see what the job description was and what the requirements were in that position to properly prepare yourself? How often do you think women ask guys, hey, what do you require of a woman as your girlfriend? What do you require of a woman as your wife? How often do you think that happens?
It got to be scarce, because when I ask dudes that, some dudes be able to spit out an answer to me, and I'll be like, hold on, wait a minute. Because if you ask me the same thing, I don't know that I can answer that fast. But then other dudes be like, no. Like they be shocked. They be shell shocked. Like, what you mean?
It's serious questions that aren't posed. Mm-hmm. And speaking of the correlation between an interpersonal communication based on, in regards to corporate America, you actually need to go into the relationship the same way you would into a job. Have an interview. Here's what I'm looking for. What are you looking for? What's your past work history? What's your past relationship history? How did it work? How did it end? Where did you grow from that past experience? What did you learn about yourself? What's different about you now compared to you in your past relationship? Why should I hire you? And throughout the relationship, as you build and build and build, you need to continue to have these conversations, these reviews. Why should you remain romantically employed here?
Right.
You need to have those things. Huh?
What assets are you bringing to this company? The company being the relationship.
With them, what's in it for me, or with who? What's in it for us? To remain? Are you still happy with your growth opportunity here? And it's not a bad thing if they're not, because now we can sit back and have a conversation of what can we do to make it better, or is this where we get off? That's not a problem. I mean, I myself have had a relationship to where it literally ended like that, to where we sat down and talked and said, hey, maybe it's time that we go our separate ways. I don't hate you, you don't hate me, and the question was, well, what happens once we go out and do our own thing, and that if we decide that we want to get back together? So we come back just like we have now and discuss it. And if we're on the same page to re-employ one another, then we re-employ one another. If one wants it and one doesn't, then we obviously don't get back together. If we both don't want it, we won't talk about it. But it's really that simple. And moving forward, that's what I know myself, that's how I move now. I literally interview people and ask them, what's their goal? Where do you want to go? Are you out here dating just to date? Because if you're out here dating just to date, that's cool. We can date just to date. But I know that we're dating just to date. I don't put a certain limit of expectations. And if you're trying to get married next year, you going about your business, because I'm not going to be ready for you. We can just be cool. We can just be cool. I'm trying to have a baby next month, man. You can go on kick rocks, because I ain't with that neither. So we need to move more strategically in our interactions in this dating and relationship world. We need to move with more intention. I am. And it's based on past relationships. And I've had some wonderful relationships. Specifically, my last two were absolutely wonderful. I don't regret anything about those relationships. If some things could be tweaked, hell, I'd go back to them. They were wonderful relationships. But yes, I believe we need to be more intentional with getting to know people, paying attention to the roles that we play within those relationships, and specific when it comes down to advancement and promotions within those relationships, seeking the information necessary to fulfill the position in which we desire. What's required of us, whether guy or female, what's required of you to be promoted to that next level of a relationship? Because it has a lot to do with you.
And I think that leads me to my question. So we had a conversation the other day, yesterday, one of these days. We always talking about everything. But when discussing promotions, what are some key questions that you feel should be asked by both counterparts to see if promotion is even on the table? And I have one in particular that we already talked about, but we'll get there. I just want to see what key questions you have in mind that should be asked.
Well, this is, again, me. And I've been doing this for years. I always ask, because I always ask these questions because it's sometimes important how you think you make your partner feel, but it's always important how your partner thinks you make them feel. So I will ask, one, are you happy? Two, what do I not do that I used to do? Is there anything that I stopped doing? And then, you ask somebody if they're happy, or let's say we're serious enough to where it's been expressed that I love you. Okay, do you believe I love you? Yes. Okay, do you feel as though I love you? Yes. Okay, articulate that to me, why you feel that way. Do you feel as though you are my priority? Yes. Okay, tell me how you feel that way. I ask yes or no questions, but then I need you to articulate to me why you feel that way. What do I do to make you feel that way? Because I got to find out where I am to discover where I can go. I got to find that out. Am I performing my current position good enough? Where would you mark me at? And then what can I do better? What is it that you want from me that I'm not doing? If you critique me, your brother, did I not come to both of you and say, hey, grade me as a dad? The father that I am today compared to the father that I was 15 years ago, what's the same and what's the different? What's the same and what's different? That's the same thing I would do in a relationship. I always ask the measurables. And what do I need to do? I always do that.
What was the one?
And I'll be. You said what? You said what?
You asked me the other day.
What was the one question that I asked you the other day? So many questions. Give me a hint.
One role.
What do you consider? What do you think your role is? Describe your role, or what do you think your role would be in a relationship?
I'll answer that question, but I'll tell you first why I think that that's an important question to ask
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to promotions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I may think one thing, and I may think that I'm actively doing that one thing, but after expressively identifying what I consider my role to be, and you receptively taking in what I say that that role is, are we together in this, or is there a disconnect? Because if there's a disconnect, we need to fix it now before we talk about upgrading, and make sure that we're on the same page. But to answer the question, because I ask myself this all the time, what type of spouse do I want to be? What type of girlfriend do I want to be? What type of wife do I want to be? And I think that's almost more important to me at this current stage of my life than what type of husband I want or what type of boyfriend I want, because I can articulate that for where I'm at in this stage of life. But when asking the reverse of that question, I think that I could do a better job at articulating this, and that's why that's more so my focus on my current stage in life. But where I'm at with it right now, what I found to be the single most important role for me and how I want to show up as a girlfriend or as a spouse would be to create an environment in which my significant other feels human. Meaning that they can come to me about anything. They can tell me anything. They can be 100% their true form, especially since I like Black men. I need you to understand that you ain't got to be superhero. You ain't got to be a robot. You just got to be, or you have this room and this atmosphere to be while you with me. And everything else, like, I understand you're a human being. Everything else will fall in its place, and it's my job to create that environment for you to feel comfortable. That's, to me, my most important job. Everything else is secondary to that, because if you can't be human, even if I'm putting my best foot forward and everything else, and is it really catered towards you? Is it individualized towards you and our unit if you can't even be yourself?
That's real good that you said that. But I also believe that once you attach yourself with who you are as a wife, that'll lead you to what you want in a husband.
Right.
Because if you just look at what you want in a husband without knowing who you are as a wife, you may miss.
Right, because I can't give off dime vibes but want millions in return. I can't give off mediocrity but want superiorness. I don't even think that's a word, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I see that, unfortunately, on social media all the time, where people say they want Jay-Z. Not him as an individual, but a Jay-Z like lifestyle, and you're nowhere close to Beyonce. I happen to believe that Kelly Rowland is more attractive than Beyonce, but most people don't. You're not even Kelly Rowland, but you want Jay-Z. You got to be Beyonce to get Jay-Z. Period, point blank. And that's what it is. So yes, you need to be in touch with who you are and what you truly have to offer. But also, Jay-Z has to see Beyonce. You can be Beyonce, but he has to see Beyonce to present himself as Jay-Z. And in these situations, I think it has way more to do with you than it does the other person. So you're wondering why you're not being promoted. Okay, are you doing all of what it is that you truly need to do to be promoted? Are you really doing all of what you need to do? And at the same time, is this the person that you really want to hire you? Or you just want to get hired?
Right.
Or do you just want to get hired, or do you want the position that's for you. Because if you want the position that's for you, you shouldn't have no problem with detaching yourself from this other person that's trying to hire you. But you got to know who you are first. Not just, I want the position, I want the position, I want the position. What they say, make the money, don't let the money make you. And that was the goal of that's the goal in this whole process, to break down the miscommunication and build up the actual communication, because a lot of us are out here freestyling, thinking we know what we're doing just because we're of age. You're of age, but you aren't of knowledge. And since you're not of knowledge, you're going to keep on repeating the same mistakes you've been making until you gain the knowledge or you get lucky. So that, what are we going to do? We're going to keep on making the same mistakes, or we're going to sit down and have this daddy-daughter talk and make it happen. Ooh, I almost cussed. I think I did slide out a little bit, but I'm daddy, so I can do what I want to do. but that's what it is. Are we going to continue to make the same mistakes, or we're going to fall back and learn who we are? Because that's what you got to do, is learn who you are, learn your position, and learn your role in this whole equation. It's a plus sign that should be you plus this equals what it is you're looking for, because you might be the minus. So what we're going to do, people? Well, we're going to update our resume and do more research on the job that we want and develop those skills. Mm-hmm. Develop the skills and display those skills, and then watch what becomes available to you. Right. Just sitting back wishing and wanting for a promotion, showing up to work every day, doing the job you've been doing, that's going to award you the ability to show up the next day and do the job you've been doing. If you want better, you got to do better, and you got to show and prove. I'm from a small state called Missouri, and it's the show me state. Those that show get. Those that just show up, show up.
I think that about sums it all up.
Hey, I was thinking the same thing. So we reading from the same clock with the same measurement of time. So yes, with that all being said, we're about to bring another beautiful episode of Daddy-Daughter Talks to a close. And how we always do, Daddy-Daughter out.